Hey everybody, this is Ian Walker, a new episode of the Stuff Podcast Show. Thanks so much for joining me today here on this new episode. I am going to be taking this time to talk about, now that the weekend is over, it is now, you know, it's been some time now. So I feel like I could talk about this now with a little bit, some reckless abandon. But Infinity War. I just did a podcast with my good friend David Wilson over at the Jive Talk podcast show. Jive Talk podcast show. I call mine the podcast show. His is just Jive Talk. And we did our first collaboration together, calling it Jive Stuff, which is a combination of his show and my show put together. He came up with the name. Big ups to David. Thanks so much for having me on your show, dude. We went in and talked quite a bit about Infinity War. And what I was hoping to do with my episode today was go into a little bit more about the different aspects of what happened in the movie, what I loved, what I appreciated about it, and even further than that, where the movie industry is going to go from this point forward. Because now, this is a game changer, big time. Marvel has done something amazing, and they've done something that I don't think can be ever truly repeated again, as far as a cinematic universe is concerned. Well, it can be done again, but I don't think it can be done as strategically and this pristine as they've done it. I had my doubts initially before. I talked to my good friend Brandon. I've talked to him many times about how frustrated I was with Marvel taking so long to get to this point, introducing so many characters. But it was without me realizing initially that, this is a universe that is actually completely different from the comic books. Yes, they're the same heroes, granted. Yes, they are the same characters and all of that. But this is a completely different universe. This is a universe for the general public. You have the Marvel comic book universe, which is for, the diehard comic book fans who are familiar with their heroes, the in-depth stories, all of those things. Then you have the TV universe, and then you have the Marvel, the cinematic universe. And this is a universe that is for that general public. They're able to tell their own stories, their own renditions of these stories. And one of the things they did was do that with Infinity War. And they've done it very, very masterfully. I said on the Jive Talk show that this movie really showed filmmakers how to do their jobs, how to create a movie with story, how to create comedy, how to create suspense, how to create full action, how to create constant highs and lows in a film, and humor and all of that, and meld it all into one film and just make it cohesive and make it brilliant. And they really, really did that with Infinity War. They've taken a lot of different elements from the comic books and adapted them accordingly. They've taken things from the comic book and did not put them at all into the movie, which are some things that I appreciate. One of the biggest things that they changed up was the approach with Thanos. The way they did it in the movie, to me, was the most impactful and most brilliant way of introducing Thanos to the general public. Because they did something that wasn't done in the comic books. In the comic books, Thanos was trying to impress the entity known as Death. He thought she was cute. Hey, girl, look what I could do. I'm going to get the gauntlet now. I'm going to take out the universe because it's for you, girl. Trying to impress a girl. He's like a teenager. Okay, saw somebody was cute, put her on a pedestal, started doing all this crap for her. And at the end of the day, if you read Infinity Gauntlet, she ended up reversing some of the stuff anyway. And then got the gauntlet taken away from him, and all this stuff ended up not being the case, no way. And he still didn't even get to be with Death. It's just a classic situation. You know, I mean, it didn't even work for Thanos. But but they took that element completely out of Infinity War, which is great. And they gave us a reason and a motivation for why Thanos does what he's doing. His whole purpose for taking out half of the universe is, in his mind, he's really saving the universe by doing this. You know, Thanos really feels that he's doing a greater good that, in his mind, others can't fathom, and they can't appreciate until it happens for them. So much so that, you know, when he invades a planet, the children of Thanos in the film refer to him as, you know, it's a privilege for them to be, you know, destroyed by Thanos, because Thanos is doing something so wonderful for them. In the movie, we got to see, like I said, see Thanos as a deeper character instead of the one-dimensional destroyer who's trying to impress a girl. We saw the relationship finally of Thanos and Gamora and what that really was. What he had to do in order to receive the power that he did. Having to, you know, for those of you who've seen the movie, if you haven't seen it, sorry. But, you know, having to sacrifice Gamora's life in order to get his hands on one of the stones. And what that really meant to him. What that cost him. And it literally did. This was something that literally did cost Thanos everything. And there was nothing stopping him from accomplishing this goal. He really went in hard. He did this, he did that. And he did whatever it took in order to accomplish his goal. So, you know, cinematically, the movie looked beautiful. There's one thing that seems like, I don't know, I feel like for some reason movies can't seem to get it right. You know, there's a lot of the suits in the movie that are CGI. You got Spider-Man, who was in his Iron Spider costume. You had Iron Man. And you've had some others that were in armor. In Black Panther 2, this is the case also. I don't know. I always find that the computer graphics are a little bit wonky when they paste the actors' heads to these CGI suits. It always looks funny. I don't ever think they pull it off very well. The only movies where I've seen where they've pulled that off well, actually, is if you look at Man of Steel, the first new Superman film. You know, Zod's spacesuit is all CGI. You couldn't even tell unless you really, really looked at it. They did it right. Seems like Infinity War, I don't know, sometimes her head looked a little bit bigger than the CGI body or vice versa, you know? But, you know, with those little teensy little things, you know, it was good overall. The film, story-wise, was just flawless. The Guardians of the Galaxy were amazing. I really enjoyed Drax. He was just funny this time around. You've had Doctor Strange was awesome, and it shows how important he is in this during this time in this film. He has a lot to do with what is going on, and he does carry a big role. And those of you who've watched the film understand that, you know, out of what I believe was like over 16,600,000 possibilities, there was only one scenario where they won. And so now, you know, wondering what Doctor Strange has done, you know, he's given the stone to Thanos, and what is that going to do, you know? And then the big reveal with everybody pretty much dying at the end. That's the big joke now. This is like the new version of Titanic. Oh, remember that movie? Well, everybody dies at the end, because it's kind of true. You know, everybody dying due to Thanos accomplishing what he set out to do, snapping his fingers and destroying half the universe. He's gotten to that point now. And I had a thought in my head and I just lost it. You know, see, that's the effects of getting old. You just start losing your thoughts. I had a thought I was going to say, guys. I'm sorry. I just totally spaced out on that. Anyways, the movie in general is great. If you haven't gone out to see it and you're listening to this, I'm sorry I spoiled some of this for you. You've really got to go in to see it. Well, honestly, what I've told you is not even half of what has gone on. This movie is an experience. It is something that has to be experienced. And I've seen it the last 3 times over the weekend. I mean, it is that good, guys. It is that good. And I just haven't seen anything wrong with this movie yet. Same thing with Black Panther. Black Panther will probably be my second favorite and highest rated Marvel film in my head. I mean, just beautiful films. Those of you out there who may be listening to this podcast who are studying film art, photography and film, directing, photography, whatever, movie making in general, script writing, all of those things, Infinity War is an amazing case study, amazing study project to really see and show how a movie should and could be made. It hit it so well on so many points that it keeps, I mean, you're hooked from the first 4 minutes in. You know, it's immediate. The interaction with characters is immediate. The dialogue is so dead on point right now. It's great. The character development of all the characters is great. Hulk and Bruce Banner are going through a huge character development arc right now as we speak. I was told by Dave Wilson, from Jive Talk, Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Avengers 4 are all stories kind of like a side storyline of the Hulk and how he's developing as a character. So I mean, they covered all the bases here. With all the characters being destroyed as well, it gives them room to come up with new characters, to introduce some new ones. One of my biggest desires I would love to see Wonder Man on the big screen. I think that would be awesome. We talked about Darkhawk was a rumored character. Jim Gunn, I believe it was Jim Gunn or something like that. One of the directors of the Marvel films loves Darkhawk. I would love to see a Darkhawk movie, guys. It would be so cool. And see them having something to do with the Marvel Universe. That would be incredible. So, anyways, if you guys haven't seen Infinity War, please go take the time to see it. And I'm going to warn you right now, you're not ready. You're not ready. You think us comic book aficionados, I'm one of those. I read the book before it came out. I read it after. I still wasn't ready. I just didn't understand. The rules have been completely thrown out of the window. This is just so well done. You will not be dissatisfied. You will enjoy this thoroughly. And you will have to see it at least twice. Because the first time it's just going to be like, what did I just finish watching? That's what somebody said in the theater. One of the times that I went. It was hilarious. But then the second part of you will be able to go in with fresh eyes and just kind of really see and observe and absorb what's going on. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that. If you guys haven't had the chance to do so, get out there, go see Infinity War. It's already made over $1 billion in sales in the first weekend. That should tell you something. That's any indication right there of how awesome this movie is. There it is, $1 billion over a weekend. That's bananas. So go check it out. Support the movie. Let me know what you think. Shoot me an email, thestuffpodcastshow@gmail.com. Shoot me a message over on Instagram at the Stuff Podcast Show. Follow me there on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube, also The Stuff Podcast Show. There as well. Leave some comments. And let me know what you guys think of Infinity War in general. What were some things that you liked, that you didn't like? Leave me some comments. I love to hear it. I love to hear what you guys think about the matter. So next segment, I want to get into what I think this means for the movie industry, at least in the superhero genre, from this point forward. Because Marvel has set a bar that is completely shattered at this point. So, you can't help but wonder what is going to be the future of superhero films from this point forward. So we'll get into that in the next segment. So is this the beginning of the end of the superhero movie genre? Is Infinity War the end of it all? Are they the ones who kind of put their stamp on it? slide it off. That's it. No more. Don't touch it. Is it? I don't think it is, personally. But I do think that Infinity War has set a standard that is, at this point, pretty darn unreachable. You're going to have a lot of movies that, or a lot of people that are going to attempt to create films and movies at this level that Infinity War has, because that is, again, a standard. That is how you create a film. This is what you make to get people to be captivated. So everyone who makes a superhero film from this point forward is going to try to emulate, in some form or fashion, the awesomeness that is Infinity War. I would say not the movie itself, but in the way the movies are created. And because they've done it so well, and with such a huge cast of characters, it's going to be hard to do. And in some ways, I almost think it might have been a little bit easier for them to be able to pull off transitions and balance everybody together, because there's so many people to play off of to make the movie move forward and constantly rolling. Whereas when you're just dealing with one superhero and a smaller cast of characters, you fall into those traps of where, this person's part is longer than the hero, or people will say, oh, I want to see more of the hero or more of their story or whatever. You could fall into that sometimes. But I feel like in the future, you're going to see movies that are really going to try to follow that formula. Whether it's successful, I guess only time will tell. We're just going to have to see. But it is going to be a standard that people, the general public, are going to expect from now on. And unfortunately, everything is going to be compared from this point forward, to Infinity War or Black Panther. Two of Marvel's best films to date. I mean, they got a bunch of other great films too. Guardians of the Galaxy and Winter Soldier, who was also directed by the Russo brothers, by the way, which is why that movie was so awesome. There's just a pattern that people are going to want to follow. Phase 4 is about to come up very soon. I believe the first movie out of Phase 4 is Ant-Man and Wasp, which I'm going to see, because that movie looks like tons of fun. And it looks cool. The first Ant-Man film was very cool, very awesome. I saw it twice, I think. It was just a cool, fun, standalone film. And I personally would like to see movies that continue on that trend. Just creating one-off movies. If they decide to make, more movies of that character, do so. I would hope that they start, actually at this point forward, getting away from the sequel, so to speak, the continuing story movie format. And kind of do what Thor did. Well, I'm trying to think. Can you call those movies standalone movies? I mean, they were all of these movies in this phase were all connected to the Infinity War in some form or fashion. All the villains have that connection. So I guess every movie from this point forward would be its own standalone movie. Either way, I would like to see more of that. And honestly, after this is all said and done and over, I honestly would like to see Marvel kind of take a small break for a little bit. Don't put out a movie for about, 2-3 years, 4 years even. Just give it a little break. Then when they start up again, come out with some more characters and movies that we haven't seen in a while. Let us miss you for a little bit. That's just me. I ain't nobody. That's just me. That's just my opinion. If you guys disagree, let me know. Tell me you disagree. Leave me a message here on Anchor or in my email, Gmail, stuffpodcastshow@gmail.com, or on Instagram, the Stuff Podcast Show. Let me know what you think about that. I mean, would you like to see some original superhero content or superhero style content? More movies like Chronicle. That was a great underrated film, also with Michael B. Jordan in it, by the way. That dude just does superhero films, and he's great at them. You know, I would like to see some one-off movies like that. Or go back to, if you want to start rebooting stuff, you know, go into, some of the older 80s movies that came out. I just saw Last Starfighter about 2 nights ago. Great film. Fun film. It was so bad, computer graphics wise, that it was awesome. 80s was impossibly impossible. And unrealistically impossible. Or no, what was it that I said last? I forget exactly what I said. But the 80s were something else, boy. And I remember watching Lost Starfighter as a kid, like, oh my god, this is so awesome. The graphics are incredible. These guys were stuck at post-production graphics and, and legitimately released a movie with post-production special effects and computer graphics on there. So funny. So funny. And when I was younger, man, I thought that was the business. We all did. And you know what? Watching it again, it just flooded back the memories. And it's still the business. It is still awesome. But redoing some of those old classics, I'd love to see a new Last Starfighter reboot done. Keeping it in the same vein, though. Don't try to redo it and make it darker and this huge story. Keep it the same exact thing. Maintain the cheese, but just give me better, computers and better special effects. I would love to see something like that. I like to see them do that with a lot of the 80s films. But what I think is Phil is that I don't think the superhero genre is lost. I don't think it's gone. I just see that there's going to be a lot more scrutiny placed on the superhero movie genre from this point forward, because people are expecting a standard, and that is a standard that Marvel has set. Shazam really better come with something awesome. Shazam looks great, by the way. He's being played by Zachary Levi, who looks awesome, by the way, as Shazam. I really hope this movie brings something special, because honestly, if Shazam does not bring it, I honestly believe it'll be over for the DCEU. And speaking of the DCEU, in the next, hopefully, I would like it to be next week, but if not next week exactly, probably the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be joining up with David again. This time, he's going to be here on my show on The Stuff, with episode 2 of Jive Stuff. We're going to be talking about the DCEU, and what I've decided to call is the DCEU, because that is just how it's been. You got it's pick and choose of certain movies where it's just been EO. Man of Steel was great. Wonder Woman was great. Batman vs. Superman, garbage hot. Fun, as a comic book fan, it's garbage. As a moviegoer, cool film to watch. But if you're a comic book nerd like myself, that movie is hot, steaming garbage. It's not Batman versus Superman. It's Batman movie with Superman in it, and Superman was weak, just not the hero that I wanted to see. It's not the Superman that I want to see. I saw more of him in Justice League than I did in Batman versus Superman. And even in Justice League, he was downplayed and didn't see very much of him. Yeah, so that's going to be happening hopefully in the next week to a couple of weeks. Talking about my theories on what the DCEU should have done, what direction they should have taken, and how that should go. And we're going to get into nice, in-depth conversations and talk about some other stuff as well, hopefully. Either comic book related and also real life stuff related also. I like to get real for a second with Dave and show you, and we could find something to talk about also that we can get into. But as I said, this standard is so high now, this expectation is so huge, that I feel that if these movie studios don't meet up to these expectations and these demands of the fans now, based on the performance of Infinity War and Black Panther, you're going to see a lot of movies and movie studios either convert to something else completely different, a style of movies, or just not be heard from again, or not be taken seriously again. And when that begins to happen, things start to suffer. So, I mean, do I think that's going to happen? I really do. That's something I really see happening. And if they're not that way, if they're not a major studio like Disney, Marvel, or Warner Brothers, if you're not a major studio, you kind of have a little bit more leeway, because then I guess you're considered independent. But if you call yourself coming up here trying to make an epic superhero film, people like that are gonna put themselves in for a lot of hurt, I feel. So those are my thoughts and my views on that, based on what has happened this past weekend. What are your thoughts and your views? Do you think the movie industry is okay? Do you think people are tired of seeing superheroes? Do you think the superhero genre is here to stay? Do you think that it is still a viable thing to watch? Do you think it needs to take a break like Beyonce? Do you think it should continue? Let me know what you think. Okay? Love to hear from you. Love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, and comments. Be respectful. Contact me at thestuffpodcastshow@gmail.com. Follow me and shoot me some DMs on Instagram at the Stuff Podcast Show. And, I'd like to hear what you think. And if you want to leave a message here for me on Anchor as well, if you're listening through the Anchor app, go ahead and leave me a message as well. That'd be really cool. Okay, so let me know how you feel. I want to thank you guys for taking the time with me again to hear me rant and run out the mouth about comic books, Infinity War, the future of the superhero genre movie industry, where I think that's going to go. And I love, talking with you guys, and as always, it's a great time. So please leave your comments, suggestions, your thoughts, all of those things with me. I really do look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for listening this week. And that'll be it for me. Until next time, you guys, stay cool. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.